What's going on, guys, and welcome back to LOI TV. Now we are just over 20 days till the start of the greatest league in the world, and today we are doing episode 11 of the LOI transfer show. Teams are starting to put their finishing touches to their squads, so today we will be running through each team as they're all doing a little bit of business, each team in the Premier Division, and having a quick chat about each one. So make sure to stick around till the very end, guys. If you do go on to enjoy the video, please do drop a like on it, and while you're down there you may as well subscribe if you haven't already, because why not? Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Let's jump right into it. As always, we are going to do it in alphabetical order. So we are going to start off with Bohemians. Now they have brought in one player over the last couple of weeks, and that is Kieran Kelly, and he's a defender they have brought in from St Patrick's Athletic. I had heard this rumour from a while back. Of course, he was let go by St Pat's last season, so I had heard this rumour towards the end of last year, and I've expected it to go through. Don't know what took it so long, but he's a good versatile option to have at the back. He can fill in at centre back or at left back, so that's a good option for Bohemians. They're going to be competing on a lot of fronts this year. They want to stay competitive at the top of the league and in all the cup competitions as well as Europe. Of course, they need to bulk up their squad a little bit, and this is the exact type of signing that will help them do that. And it's the first year in a while that Bows haven't lost their star performers from the previous year, so I'm very excited to see what Keith Long can do with this squad. Moving on to Cork City. Now this is a team that I'm really worried about this year. Haven't been overly impressed by the signings they have made for the second year running. A lot of high profile outs again, with the likes of Gary Buckley and Conor McCormack, and today Colm Horgan leaving. They've lost a lot of good players. They have not brought in the players, the calibre of player that I think can push them back up towards that, to where they want to be, let's say. So I'm going to be doing my table prediction video very soon. Some of you may or may not be surprised by where I put Cork on that, so you have to stay tuned for that, but yeah, not overly convinced by them now. The next team we're going to look at is Derry City, and as I mentioned there previously, Colm Horgan has left Cork City, signing for Derry City today. He's a right back, very solid player. I think that's a decent deal for Derry City to get over the line. They've also signed Stephen Malone recently. He's a left-sided player from Sheffield United on a loan deal, 6-month loan. Must have been recommended from maybe David Parkhouse, who's obviously gone back to Sheffield United. He had a great spell with Derry last season, so he must have recommended Derry City as a good spot to develop yourself. So that's an interesting one. You can play left back or left mid, so I think that's a good option for Derry. They're similar to Bows. They needed to bulk up their squad a little bit again, and he could provide them with that versatility in the left flank and provide them with that bit of quality as well. I am worried about Derry in the fact that they did, of course, lose Junior and David Parkhouse, both obviously on loan last season, so that's taken a lot of goals out of that side, so it's a lot of weight on the shoulders of Walter Figueroa, and I wouldn't be surprised if Derry City brought in one or two more before the start of the new season. Next up we have the champions Dundalk. Now I think their business is probably more or less complete. They didn't really need to do an awful lot. They've brought in Darragh Leahy and Will Patching already, which adds to what's already a really strong squad. That's two good signings, both scored in their debuts in a 7-1 thrashing over UCD. They do, however, have a player on trial with them at the moment. I believe his name is Cammy Smith. He's an attacker from Scotland. I believe he's had a couple of spells with the likes of Aberdeen and stuff like that. So be interested to see what Vinnie Perth makes of him. I believe Dundalk are going on a warm weather training camp thing, maybe for a week or two. I think they're gone this week. So that's good. I think he's gone with them as well. So be interested. That gives Vinnie Perth a good chance to have a look at him over there, played a couple of games and stuff like that, and see if he's up to scratch. But I think Dundalk looking good again for next season, and it'd be interesting to see if Cammy Smith is signed on a permanent basis. Next up we have Finn Harps, who have brought in Shane McElhenney, a defender from up north. I think it was Larne he was with, centre half. That's exactly what they need, just him alongside Adam Webster, to try and keep the goals out next season. Big job on for both of them, to be fair, trying to keep out what was a leaky defence last season, trying to improve that. They've also brought in Carl O'Sullivan from Limerick, and believe he's a winger, if I'm not mistaken, but I think he just kind of adds more options into what's probably it's not up to scratch, I don't think, the squad, to be honest. It's a big job on for Ollie Horgan this year. I'm sure he's aware of it, and it's going to be a tough gig for them. They did have that blanket nearly of UCD last season, and that's obviously been torn away from them, so it's going to be a big ask for Finn Harps to not finish 10th next season, I think. Next up we have the runners-up and the FAI Cup winners, Shamrock Rovers. Now, a very interesting one is that I hear that they have a 33-year-old striker, Luke Moore, on trial with them at the moment. He's obviously had spells at Aston Villa, Swansea, Premier League teams, and he obviously has a really, really good pedigree. Very, very good goal scorer. A good while back, to be fair. I'm surprised he's only 33. I thought he's a bit older than that, to be honest. But that's an interesting one. I mean, Shamrock Rovers, that's probably the one position they need now. They've brought in 2 players, I believe, in Liam Scales and Reece Marshall. 2 good players to bolster the defensive options. And they do need a striker. Aaron Green, of course, he's not gonna. I don't think he has it in him to fire them to a title. I think he's a very good player, and he's a great player for their squad. But I don't think he's the quality of a Pat Hoban. I think they do need to leapfrog Dundalk. I think they do need a striker that will bang in a lot of goals next season. And is Luke Moore the man? I mean, if they keep him fit for the majority of the season, he could hit 20 goals, no doubt about it. He does have that quality. It's just up to Stephen Bradley now to make a judgment call on that. I'm not sure what his situation is. I haven't heard of him playing in the last couple of years. Luke Moore, I'm not sure where he's been. I think he might have been abroad in America or Canada or something like that. But it's a bit of a judgment call for Stephen Bradley. They don't want to end up with another Orhan Vodge situation, to taking risks on players that are kind of unproven. I know Luke Moore is not unproven, but if they were to bring in a different striker, it would be probably a bit of a risk. So I do think that's probably the one area Rovers will be looking to improve before the start of the new campaign. Next up we have Shelbourne, whose most recent signing was Gary Deegan. Now, of course, that was a while back. He was actually mentioned. I mentioned that in the previous LOI transfer show. So I do think that Shelbourne have concluded their business for the upcoming campaign. They got a lot of it done early on, and got a lot of their main targets in, the likes of Carl Shepherd and players like that. So I think Shelbourne are probably happy enough with the squad they have going forward now. Unless someone comes available, that's kind of hard to turn down. But I think Shell's probably set. The squad's looking decent for next year now. Now, next up we do have Sligo Rovers, and they have brought in centre back Timu Penninkangas. Probably absolutely butchered that, but I believe he's a Finnish centre back brought in from Finnish side FC Lahti. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know really when they're coming from the obscure leagues. It could be an absolute gem of a find. So it's just one of those that you have to just wait and see, kind of. Liam Buckley, of course, loves a nice structured defence, and if he believes that this guy can add to it, he must have done a bit of scouting on him and stuff like that. So could be a gem of a signing. You just don't know. The one I'm really worried about for Sligo is, I mentioned in the last episode, of course, Romeo Parks leaving the club. I don't believe they've adequately replaced that many goals from the squad. To take that out of your team, you're going to suffer. And I believe Sligo will probably be looking for 1 or 2 more before the season begins. Next up, a team that is absolutely gasping for a striker as well, St Patrick's Athletic. Now, first, they have actually brought in 2 players. Dan Ward, a 22-year-old midfielder from Spennymoor Town, non-league English side. He had spells with Newcastle and Middlesbrough, came up through one of their academies, I think. So I'd say he has a bit about him. Stephen O'Donnell likes to look for him. So that could be a shrewd signing. It's when the players come back from England, they can be hit and miss. It's actually a harder league than most imagine it to be. So yeah, that could be a good deal. Obviously losing the likes of Conor Clifford and stuff like that, you need to bring in more depth in your squad. They lost a lot of players, St Pat's, so they need to bulk up their squad a little bit. They've also brought in Billy King, a winger from Scotland, 25 years old, had spells with Dundee United and Harps, I think it was. So that's the interesting one as well. Excited to see what he brings to the St Pat's side. But they do really need a striker, St Pat's, and I've been saying it since the start of last season as well, that's what they really lacked. They had Mikey Drennan and Gary Shaw and Glenn McCauley last year. None of them really got a run in the side or really scored enough goals at all. Dean Clark, who's not an out and out striker. They have Ronan Hale, who's not an out and out striker. So the rumour I'm hearing at the moment is David McMillan. Now that would be a fantastic signing. I believe Stephen O'Donnell is in contact with him. They obviously were teammates previously. David McMillan has been rumoured back to the LOI for a couple of years now with Rovers and Dundalk being linked with him. So if St Pat's could get him on board for next season, it'd be a great piece of business, I think, and could really fire them into that title race, I think. The final team we're going to look at today is Waterford. Now they've been very busy in the last few weeks. I had said a couple of months ago that I was I was petrified for them, to be honest, going into this campaign. I've been hearing a lot of concerning rumours, let's say. So they have kind of got their ideas together recently, and they brought in three players since we last spoke. Robbie McCourt being the first one. With Bowes last season, good. He's midfield. He can play in a couple of positions. He's midfielder, centre half, left back. very comfortable on the ball. So I think he's a good player. He was with West Brom before. I think he came up with the St Kevin's Boys Academy, so that's a good player. He's a good player in there, like, and I think they could get it out of him. He didn't really get a fair crack at the whip at Bows because they're playing so well. It's hard to break into that side. So Robbie McCourt could be a good signing for Waterford. Another player Waterford have brought back on loan is Michael O'Connor. Now, of course, he spent the second half of last season on loan at Waterford and did impress. He really puts himself about. On loan from Linfield, and him and Graham Cummins up top in a pairing could be an absolute handful for defenders. So they could work really, really well together. I'm excited to see him back in the League of Ireland for next season and him having a full campaign here. Be interesting to see. Waterford have also brought in Kevin O'Connor. Now, of course, he's on loan from Preston North End. He did spend last season with Cork. Wasn't amazing, but he's a quality player. Like, if you're getting to move over to the Championship, there is something in there, and I think he gets on well with the manager and stuff like that. So we could really see the best of Kevin O'Connor back to himself next season. And I hear a rumour also that Waterford have been interested in a winger. Of course, they have lost Zach Elbozetti to Lincoln City. That's a big, big blow, of course. So I hear rumours that they are linked with Joel Coustrain, a winger from Shamrock Rovers. He was on loan at Cork City last season. So it could be a good one to get in over the line. Like, I mean, with Cork, he wasn't amazing, to be fair. Probably gone into a bit of a toxic atmosphere. I think he came into halfway point of last season. So for him to go to Waterford now, I think could be the right move for all parties. I don't think he's going to get in at Shamrock Rovers ahead of the abundance of talent they have in their attacking midfield areas. So to go to Waterford, I think he'd be playing most weeks, and he'd give them the width and a bit of quality out wide that they need. So could be a good move for all parties, that one. Anyways, guys, there you have it. I've touched on each team in the Premier Division. If I've left out any rumours or done deals or anything that concern your team, make sure to let me know down in the comments below. How have you rated your team's transfer business so far? Let me know as well down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Please make sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe.